I knew something was wrong the moment I turned onto my own driveway and saw a bright orange HOA violation notice zip-tied to my mailbox. The problem? My house wasn't in their subdivision, not even across the street. I lived on agricultural land 2 miles outside their boundaries. Still, the notice claimed I owed community upkeep fees and was required to attend an HOA compliance meeting. I laughed so hard I almost dropped the paper, but the laughter stopped when I read the last line. Failure to comply will result in fines, liens, and enforcement action. That was when I knew I wasn't dealing with confused neighbors. I was dealing with amateurs trying to flex authority they didn't have. The setup started when I purchased my 5-acre property at a tax foreclosure auction. Before placing a bid, I checked every deed, plat, survey, and zoning map the county had. My land sat firmly outside any HOA district. There were no shared easements, no covenants, and no architectural restrictions. The county planning supervisor even said, "You're completely independent. No HOA can touch this." So when the HOA mailed me a packet declaring they had expanded jurisdiction, I knew they were bluffing, and illegally at that. The incident escalated fast. A week after the first violation notice, I received a certified letter from an HOA lawyer demanding $5,200 in unpaid dues and fines. They accused me of non-compliant structures, unauthorized agricultural activity, and operating heavy machinery without HOA approval. The tractor they cited? Bought in 1998 by the previous owner long before the HOA even existed. Their letter threatened to place a lien immediately. They genuinely thought they could scare me into paying. Instead, they triggered the biggest legal headache of their lives. My reaction was methodical. I pulled every record I had: the stamped deed, the foreclosure transfer documents, the GIS parcel overlays, a certified boundary survey showing I was outside HOA limits by more than a mile. I even used my drone to film the distance between my fence line and their nearest house. There wasn't a single angle where they could claim jurisdiction. The evidence was airtight. What I planned next was simple: shut them down legally and permanently. I hired a real property attorney and handed him the entire evidence binder. He drafted a cease and desist letter citing fraudulent claims, boundary intimidation, and attempted extortion. Then we filed a public records request demanding any proof that the HOA had lawful authority over my land. We already knew they had none. Now they had to admit it in writing. Execution came when the HOA scheduled a mandatory enforcement hearing. I showed up with my lawyer and a binder thick enough to use as a weapon. Their board members looked nervous before we even sat down. Their attorney opened his mouth to speak, and my lawyer immediately cut him off. He laid out the county survey, aerial drone footage, and a zoning confirmation letter. Then he asked, "Show us where your jurisdiction touches my client's land." The room fell dead silent. Not one of them could point to anything. My lawyer leaned back and asked, "Would you like to explain your false lien threats to a judge, or should we just proceed to damages?" Their attorney went pale. Consequences were immediate. The HOA withdrew every notice and every fine. They sent a written apology claiming it was all a misunderstanding. 2 board members resigned the same week, and the county opened a formal investigation into the HOA as attempted overreach and fraudulent billing practices. The HOA was warned that any further contact with me would be considered harassment under state law. The payoff is perfect. I run my farm, operate my tractor, and live freely with zero HOA interference. They avoid my road like it's cursed. And every time I see my wide open land, I remember one thing: they tried to threaten me with fake authority. I buried them with real evidence. If you love HOA justice stories, like the video and subscribe.